Residents of Pleasant Valley, Palestina Estate and surrounding areas discussed the National Disasters Infrastructure Rehabilitation Project currently ongoing in Pleasant Valley when the Ministry of Communications and Works held a consultation on April 28th. Minister for Communications and Works Mark Vanterpool told residents at the Seacoast Bay Community Center that while the infrastructure rehabilitation project is expected to repair damage sustained during the 2010 storms, efforts are being made to prevent any unforeseen fallouts.
We've always talked and have been continuing to talk about some of the difficulties involved in when a financing like this comes forward through CDB. While they're useful to be able to get the funding to do the project, sometimes the restrictions and the rules are very onerous, so that we can't help in our own thinking the way we help our own people in the various districts the way we would like to. But we are hoping that as we get on with the projects, that as many persons in the areas, in the district, can benefit as much as we can, despite the restrictions, and hopefully at the end of the day, the territory will benefit. But most importantly, that the project that is needed to mitigate against flooding and so on will be completed in time, so that the next storms come around, that we can be relieved of the problems. So, of course, sometimes you're relieving one problem and you're creating another. So we want to make sure that the residents who are in the area can voice their views and make sure that we're doing the right thing in the right way.
Following approval from the Caribbean Development Bank in May 2012, government signed a contract with G-Unit Construction to carry out road repair works due to significant damage caused by Tropical Storm Otto in 2010. 3rd District Representative Julian Fraser welcomed the start of the project, but shared his concerns about the public traversing the area where excavation has started.
I'm pleased that the government has been able to finally get this project started. I'm not satisfied at all that they have started for about 2 months and they had a ditch open down there for about 2 months. And it doesn't make the government look good unnecessarily. Minister, what I would suggest is that you have your team be more diligent in making sure that the residents feel comfortable traversing the area, because we had some steel pegs and some yellow ribbons along the edge of a precipice for quite some time. It didn't make much sense. And why I was asking for more details is so that the residents can appreciate the difficulties that they're going to have to go through for the next few months, at least. It would have shown, they would have got an appreciation for the road, what it looks like, the sidewalks that were mentioned, and the drainage, the difficulties that has been encountered with drainage. I'm quite comfortable in feeling that the best solution to the problem has been reached, the best solution, considering all the circumstances. It's not going to be a perfect project, but it's going to be far better than it was. I can recall during that same period that the minister mentioned in 2010, being called out of my home to see what's taking place in Hannah's. And when you get to cross the bridge, there were cars blocked up under the bridge. And part of the reason for that is people decide to utilize the gut as a garage.
Preserving trees that fall in close proximity with construction work is one concern that project manager Dr. Richard Taylor of Systems Engineering Limited will have to contend with. This point was raised by both Fraser and Vanterpool, as well as others in attendance.
As the junction meets the main road, there are some large trees, which, if you don't divert your drain, will come into conflict with the roots of the trees. I hope that no one is intending to destroy those trees. I hope that no one thinks that they're going to cut the roots of those trees, get that culvert in, and go home with the tree standing, and 2 years later the trees die. That cannot happen. So I'd like to know how you're going to address that particular item, that issue.
We have private land ownership. We have the actual carriageway itself. We have utilities, and we have our culvert to put in, and we have the trees. I personally hate to see a tree die at any time, but I really don't think there's room for everything there.
Tell me what you're saying.
I think that I don't have the drawings with me. I think at least one of those trees is scheduled for death. We'll look at it again. I don't like to see a tree killed, but it is very tight in that area.
The member and I visited the site today, Member Fraser, and that was one of the issues he pointed out. And I think I mentioned to Dr. Glasgow that we must look at an alternative route that may be able to probably come in the road, onto the road or something, to avoid the trees. So it's something that I'm not asking you to answer it now, but certainly we don't want to see the trees destroyed. So
We'd be happy to look at it. We don't like to see trees destroyed either.
I'm sure you can find an alternative to that. So that is very important for us to see happen. And we were on site today looking at those possibilities. I'm sure you will address it.
G-Unit Construction's contract covers the implementation of Pleasant Valley Road and Bridge rehabilitation. The project includes demolition of the existing bridge deck and center wall at Palestina Pleasant Valley, the raising of the concrete bridge abutments, and the construction of a new elevated bridge deck. Repairs will also be made to the road approaches to the bridge, as well as construction of a new culvert along Palestina Pleasant Valley Road and a section of Drake's Highway.